Okay, we've got two packets here on this next assignment. I'm going to do the first one. Let's just find the product. We've got 2x to the third. That's a monomial because there's only one term. And then we got this polynomial here. We got 1x to the third plus 3x to the second minus 2x plus 5. Okay, here's how I multiply this. It's just basically like the rainbow is going crazy. So I take 2 times 1, but it's not just 2 times 1. It's 2x to the third times 1x to the third. So I jot that down. And then 2x to the third times 3x to the second. And then 2x to the third times negative 2x. And that minus is a negative. Okay. It's got a minus. If you want to put the plus negative, go for it. I'm not, because all it's going to do is clutter this up. And then 2x to the third times 5. Okay, what I do after that is everywhere I see an x that doesn't have a power, it's going to be to the first. So I got to find out what all these are. So 2 times 1 is 2. And then the powers, when I'm multiplying, I need to add the powers, x to the sixth. Okay, now 2 times 3 is 6, and then 3 plus 2 is going to be fifth. And then 3 plus 1 is, and then 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, and then 3 plus 1 is x to the fourth. And then 2 times 5 is 10, and then there's nothing to add here, just put the x to the third. Okay, all these powers right here are different, okay? So I don't add anything. That's my answer pretty much. I just got to line it up. So I've got 2x to the sixth plus 6x to the fifth plus negative 4x to the fourth plus 10x to the third. And that's my product. That's my answer. Okay, next I got 1x is my monomial, and then I got 7x a second, and then a 4. So I got 1 times 7 and 1 times 4. So I got 1x times 7x to the second, and then 1x times 4. So that's 7. 1 plus 2 is 3x to the third, and then 1 times 4 is 4. And you can put a 1. You can put a 1 there. That's fine. Okay. And don't add anything to that. That's x to the first. Okay. So 7x to the third plus 4x to the first. Now if you end up with an x to the first, I want you to just take it away, because that's your product. Okay, next one. My monomial is 1x to the second times 6x to the second got 1x to the second times negative 3x. And then I got 1x a second times negative 1. So that's going to be 6, and then x, 2 plus 2 is 4, and that's a first. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3, and then 2 plus 1 is 3. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1, and that there's nothing to add here, just x a second. So all these powers are different, so I've got 6x to the fourth plus negative 3x to the second, negative 3x to the third, plus negative 1x to the second, and that is my product. None of these are x to the first, so I got to keep them all, the exponents. Okay, negative 5a to the third, that's your monomial, times 4a to the fourth. Okay, and then I've got negative 5a to the third times negative 3a. And then negative 5a to the third times 1. Okay, so it's negative 20, and then I add the powers. 3 plus 4 is 7. A to the seventh. That's going to be positive 15. A to the third and a to the first is a to the fourth. And then negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. And that's going to be just a to the third. Okay, all the powers are different, so I've got negative 20a to the seventh. I don't have any a to the sixth. I don't have any a's to the fifth. So plus 15a to the fourth plus negative 5a to the third. That's my product. Okay, on the assignment, I'm going to take out these. Then on your assignment, you can take out number 7 and number 8, okay, and number 6. Just do the first 5. And also, that's a 1. Remember, if an 8 doesn't have a number in front, it's a 1, okay. Okay, pause that video and do those 5 problems, and then come back. Okay, here's my next problem. I've got 3x plus 1 times 2x minus 5. Well, how do you times that? Well, you can't add those, and you can't add those. So here's how you multiply. It's called the FOIL method. Okay, and I'll explain why it's called the FOIL method after I do the first one. First, I ignore the 1 for a second, and I look at the 3x. And I come over the top. I pretend the 1's not even there. I take 3x times 2x, and I'm going to take 3x times negative 5. Okay, after I write those two down, I get rid of the 3x. That's all I need that to do. Now I look at the 1. I take 1 times 2x, and I take 1 times negative 5. Okay. So 3 times 2 is 6. 1 plus 1 is x to the second. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15, and you can put a 1 there. You don't have anything to add, it's just x to the first. 1 times 2 is 2, and you just got x to the first. 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. There's no x's there. Okay, now you got your 6x to the second, and then it would be x to the first, but I have 2 of those, okay? So what I need to do is add negative 15 plus 2, and that's negative 13 x to the first, okay? Now when I'm adding these, when I'm adding like terms, I don't add the powers. I just keep the power the same, okay? And then I've got my negative 5. Take that 1 out, and that's your product. Okay, next one, 2x plus 3 times 1x minus 5. And the reason it's called FOIL is because F would stand for first. That means I multiply the 2 first numbers in each parentheses. The O stands for outer. That means I multiply the 2 outer numbers. The I stands for inner. I multiply the 2 inner numbers. And the L stands for last. I multiply the 2 last numbers. First, outer, inner, last. Okay? I'm not in love with explaining it that way, but okay, so look at the 2x. Ignore the plus c. We're going to take 2x times 1x, and then 2x times negative 5. Okay, then I can forget about the 2x. Then 3 times 1x, and 3 times negative 5. Okay, so 2 times 1 is 2. I got to add the powers in when I multiply. Okay, 2 times negative 5 is negative 10, and we just got the x to the first. 3 times 1 is 3. We just got the x to the first. And then 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. Okay, so my highest power is at 2, so 2x to the second. And then for x to the first, we have 2 of them. So I got to add the coefficients, and that's negative 7. Keep that as x to the first when you're adding the like terms. And then we got the negative 15. You can take that away, and there's your answer. Okay, 6x minus 3, and then 4x minus 1. So that's times. So I take 6x times 4x, and 6x times negative 1. That's done. Negative 3 times 4x, and then negative 3 times negative 1. Okay, so 6 times 4 is 24, 1 plus 1 is 2. Negative 6, and that'd be just x to the first. Negative 12, and that's just x to the first, and then positive 3. So I got 24x to the second as my highest power. Then for x to the first, I've got the -6 and the -12, so we got to add those, these two. -18 is what you get, but you don't add the powers, okay? I'm done adding powers at that point. That's just x to the first and then +3. Take away the first, so it's just an x, and there's my answer. Okay, x minus 8, so it's a 1x and a -8 times 5x and -2. Okay, so I've got 1x times 5x and 1x times -2. And then the 1x is done. Then I got -8 times 5x and then -8 times -2. Okay. So it's 5, 1 plus 1 is 2. -2, and that's just x to the first. -40, that's just x to the first, and then 16. Okay, so 5x to the second, that's your only x to the second. Then again, I got 2x to the first term, so I add the coefficients, and that's -42. Coefficients are those big numbers in front. And then we keep that x to the first. And then plus 16. Let's get rid of the x to the first. Okay. Okay, and then this is just the same thing. Okay, I just want to go, I'm going to go over this one. -1x plus 1 times 3x to the second plus 1. Okay, so I got the -1x. I take -1x times 3x to the second, and then -1x times 1. So we can forget about that. Okay, then 1 times 3x to the second, and then 1 times 1. -3. 1 plus 2 is 3x to the third, -1, x to the first, and 3. And then that's just a 2, x to the second, and 1 times 1 is 1. Now my highest power this time is a 3, and that's the only one you have, so I just write it down. After third power would come a second power, and that's the only one of those I have. I don't add these because the powers are different, okay? So plus 3x to the second, plus -1x to the first. That's your only x to the first you got. Take the 1 away, plus 1. So that one's a little bit of an odd duck. Okay. All right, that's really all I have to say on that today. Your assignment is, I think it would be good practice if you did all these, honestly, because this is a big thing moving forward.